This video was made possible by Good Better Best Tuition Services. Please subscribe to this channel for the latest updates. Today we are going to be doing our second lesson on fractions, and we are going to be dealing with mixed and improper fractions. But before we do that, let me remind you that the grade 8 fractions, they form the foundation for the grade 9 fractions, so it's important that you know this work. Let's start with mixed fractions. Mixed fractions are fractions that have a whole number and a fraction. So if you look at the number 2.5, 2 is the whole number and a half is the fraction. So this is regarded as a mixed fraction. However, oftentimes what will be required is that we take this mixed fraction and we need to convert it to an improper fraction. An improper fraction is a fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator. When would we need to do this? Oftentimes in addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of fractions. So how would we convert 2.5 to an improper fraction? Now 2.5 is the same thing as saying 2 over 2 plus 2 over 2 plus 1 over 2. Why would we say that? Because 2 over 2 is the same thing as 1, because anything divided by itself is 1. So that is 1 whole. And that 2 over 2 is 1 whole. And you know that 1 plus 1 plus a half is equal to 2.5. That's correct. So how would we go about converting this mixed fraction to an improper fraction? How many wholes did we have? 2. And the fraction is divided into 2. So what we do is we say 2 times 2, and then you add the 1. 2 times 2 plus 1 will give you 5. So your answer will be 5 over 2. Why? Because 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 plus 1 is 5. So when we convert 2.5 to an improper fraction, the answer would be 5 over 2. Let's look at the next example. 4 and 4 over 5. What are we expected to do? We are expected to multiply 4 times 5, and then we've got to add the 4. 4 times 5 is 20, and we need to add the 4. So that would give me 24 over 5. Let's do another one. Let's convert 9 and 2 over 3 to an improper fraction. What do we need to do? We need to say 9 times 3, which is 27, and we need to add the numerator, and that will give us 29 over 3. Let's do one more. Let's look at 20 and 4 over 7. What do we need to do? We need to multiply the whole number by the denominator. So 20 times 7 is equal to 140, and then we need to add the numerator, which is 4, and our answer will be 144 over 7. So in that section we have converted mixed numbers to improper fractions. But how do we convert improper fractions to mixed numbers? Let's have a look. Let's look at the fraction 22 over 5. So the question we've got to ask ourselves is, how many times does 5 divide into 22? Do you know? The answer is 4. But you know that 5 times 4 is 20 and not 22. So that means that there's a portion left over, and that portion that's left over becomes our fraction. So our answer will be 4, and what's left over? 2 over 5. Let's do another one. Now let's look at 74 over 3. 3 goes into 7 twice. And what are we left with? We're left with 1. And 3 goes into 14 4 times. What are we left with? We're left with 2, because 74 minus 72 is 2. And our answer is 24 and 2 over 3. Let's do the next one. Before we do, I wanted to remind you that your times tables are so important, because if you can't tell me, for example in this example, that 8 goes into 45 5 times, then you are going to struggle to answer the question. So please revise your times tables regularly and make sure that you know your times tables up to the 12 times tables. So 8 divides into 45 5 times, and you know that 8 times 5 is 40. What are we left with? We are left with 5, because 40 plus 5 gives you 45. And so that will give me 5 over 8. Let's do another one. Let's see if you can do this one on your own. 35 over 4. Can you pause the video for me and see if we get to the same answer? 4 divides into 35 8 times, and 8 times 4 is 32. What are we left with? We're left with 3 over 4. And one more that I'd like for you to do on your own. Let's do the final one. Let's look at 126 divided by 12. How many times does 12 divide into 126? Do you know? What's the answer? It divides 10 times. 126 divided by 12 is equal to 10, and there's a remainder. So you know that 12 times 10 is 120. What are we left with? That's 126. 126 minus 120 will be 6. And that will give us 10 and 6 over 12. But hold on, we need to simplify this fraction. What do we mean by simplify? Let's explain it to you quickly. When we simplify, we have to ask ourselves, how can we write this fraction in its simplest form? So the question you ask yourself is, what can you divide into 6 that also divides into 12? So we can divide, 6 divides by 6 and 12 also divides by 6. So if we say 6 divided by 6, the answer is 1. And if we say 12 divided by 6, the answer is 2. So when we simplify 6 over 12, we get a half. We spoke about that in equivalent fractions in the previous section. Thank you for watching with us. We hope to see you again soon. And then if you need extra classes for maths, English, Afrikaans, and accounting or physics, we are based in Lotus River, Cape Town, and we are able to assist you. Please feel free to contact me on the number given on the screen. See you again soon.